to the cloud, and it is recording live on Facebook. I want to the going live part always takes a minute because you have to like connect to Facebook and then like make sure you're going to the right location. And
oh, you're fine. Don't you worry about it. Yay, I'm so excited. Can't wait to hear everybody's interpretation of the theme.
Are we ready to go?
Soon.
Man.
I don't know why I bothered putting on garb. You can't actually see it.
I was gonna put garb on and then I decided that I don't understand. I definitely pressed the go live button and now it's,
Let me check Facebook.
I don't understand what's happening.
I'm on Facebook and I don't see it yet.
Well, it would come up as a pending post on the Kingdom page. If I okay. It's live streaming on Facebook. Well, not quite, because I gotta approve it still, but it's where I hit the same button like 4 times. And then the 4th time it was just magically like working.
Technology.
So we'll be in quadraphonic sound.
All right, I see it. So we are live. Fantastic. So
It's live!
welcome everybody to the July 31st Midrealm Bardic Showcase. We are so excited to present to you. This month's theme is family. So I'm excited to see what everyone's interpretation of that. I left it open to interpretation as always, because I just think everyone's creativity is wonderful to see. So our first performer is Bredelwin. If you would please, Bredelwin, take it away.
Thank you. When you had first posted about the theme for tonight, I was explaining it to my lady Salise, and I couldn't remember if it was home or if it was family. So she gave me indication what the theme of what this piece is. And in her infinite wisdom, she said, "Happy are those who have both home and family. Happy are those who have both." For my family, I have built a home. For happy are those who have both. Side by side we work. Side by side we play. Side by side, we laugh. Side by side, we cry. Side by side, we share our joys. Side by side. In case of invaders, I fight to save my family. I stand between them and my family. My price, my blood. As family, we stand holding our hands. As family, with other kingdoms, we stand and hold hands together. With the world of animals, we stand together holding hands. For together, we are home and family.
Thank you, Bredlin. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And one thing I always point out for all of the listeners at home, the viewers at home, is you can't see it, but I can see all of the Brady Bunch of performers, and we all are clapping with our mics muted. So it's always delightful to see that. But that was beautiful. Thank you, Bredlin. Our next performer is Brendan. And so, Brendan, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you very much. This is a piece that was written 30 years ago almost, and it's still relevant today. It was written by a fellow by the name of C.M. Joserlin, known as Raven in our society. Friends, when you and I were younger, and the world was strange and vast, how our eager hearts would hunger for the legends of the past. Dreams of swords and spears uplifted, gleaming armor in the sun. Streams of banners bravely flying where the battle had begun. Or to see the truth triumphant, setting right ahead of might, hear the gentle judgments afterward at court by candlelight, or the revelry and laughter while the merry minstrels sing of Harrow Hall with Grendel gone, or Camelot in spring. How those visions filled our childhood, strengthened us as nothing could, set our world in moral order, set our standard for the good. for the visions that we heeded gleaming from the printed page were the virtues that were needed to bring on the golden age. And we've joined in joy and sadness with each hero in his plight, shared the fine inspired madness of La Mancha's woeful night. Parents little know the path they chart for children when they bring all those stories, songs, and sagas about Camelot in spring. But perhaps our elders mocked our dreams of dragons and their hordes, and so for lack of worthy foes, we packed away our magic swords. And then our schools and jobs distracted us with all the busy work they bring. And no more we thought of Harrow or Camelot in spring. Bid farewell to bold adventurers and our comrades of the mind, to the wizards wise and subtle, to the ladies fair and kind, to the knights of the round table, to the fellows of the ring. Farewell Narnia and Middle-earth and Camelot in spring. But when danger came to threaten us, and fear cried hide or flee, what compelled us to embrace the threat and not the coward's plea? Was it that we found the courage to confront it on our own? Or had we help from him of hero who fought the troll alone? And the day we faced injustice, hypocrites who held a truth caged, then we showed our truth bringing. When our indignation raged, saying this is not the right way, this would not have pleased the king, who set justice at the table round at Camelot in spring. And we've mourned for other dreamers who had followed that same star, but who died before they ever knew if truth would win the war. But their names still live within us, and in legend they will ring, along with those of Harrow Hall and Camelot in spring. And what though now our world grows colder, and our castles fade away, still our dreams can make us bolder, and bear our standards through the fray. Still the quest for honor bids us battle lies and unjust laws. Still the memory of heroes gives us comrades in our cause. For we've joined in joy and sadness with each hero in his plight, shared the fine inspired madness of La Mancha's woeful night. Parents little know the path they chart for children when they bring all those stories, songs, and sagas about Camelot in spring. Beowulf and mighty Arthur, they knew what the battle cost, and their songs may lend us courage when we feel alone and lost. For even in the darkest winter, we can raise our voice to sing of the vision of the glory that was Camelot in spring.
Thank you. And what the viewers at home can't see is our little chat between each other saying how Brenolyn and Brendan are resorting us to tears. So next time I'll try to split you guys up a little bit better so we can have some happiness in between. Our next performer had a bit of life happen, and she is a guest from Lockwood. So she actually wrote a story specifically for the showcase, and rather than recording it, she asked if I would read her story for her. So her name is Shinjo Takame, and again, she's from Lockwood. The name of her story is The Honor of the Name, and I hope I do her justice. So just imagine if I mess up, it's me, not her. It's me. So here we go. There once was a great and powerful samurai lord, the lord of the Eastern Legions. He married, and his wife gave him 3 children, an older son, a younger son, and a daughter. Shortly after the birth of his daughter, his wife passed from this life and into the next. The Lord of the East was saddened by the loss of his wife, but when he held his infant daughter in his arms, he had not the heart to blame her for it. The 3 children grew and matured, carefully schooled in the ways of the sword, the ways of Bushido, and the ways of war. His 2 sons' performance was adequate, but in his daughter, the Lord of the East knew his blood ran true. Talented with the sword, dedicated to her studies and exceptional in strategy and tactics. His second son acknowledged his sister's skills, but his oldest son was jealous of his sister and thought his father unfairly favored her. The Lord fully intended for his daughter to be his heir, passing of his 2 sons for her to lead the Eastern Legions. Yet before he could make his will, he fell gravely ill. He was confined to his bed. His daughter never left his side, but he was too weak to speak. Then the Lord died, and the Eastern Legions mourned his loss. The older son succeeded his father as Lord of the Eastern Legions, receiving oaths of fealty from all Bushi. He decreed that his younger brother would be his hatamoto, steward of the castle and an advisor in all things. "And what is to become of me?" asked his sister. "You will be shortly married," said her oldest brother. "I declare that you will give up the sword and the ways of war. Your duty will now be to keep house for your husband and bear children that will bring honor and glory to our father's line." "And I declare I will do no such thing," said his sister. "I will not give up my sword. If you wish to have it from me, you must take it." She drew it, bearing the blade before all. No one moved to take it, for none could best her. "Then I declare that your sword will no longer serve the Eastern Legions," said her oldest brother. "You will be a nameless Ronin, subject to the waves and the rain. You shall leave these lands forthwith and never return." "Hear this, my brother," said his sister, pointing her sword towards where he sat. "I swear to you on our father's line that I will return, and that you shall be at my sword point and beg for mercy." Then she strode from the hall and left the lands of her birth. She traveled for many days and nights until the lands of her birth were far behind her, and she entered the lands of the shogun himself, who ruled all lands and all armies from the mountains to the sea. She came to a small castle and was tested by the commander there. He praised her skill with the sword, her knowledge of Bushido, and her mastery of tactics, and offered her a posting at the castle, which she accepted. "And what is your name?" the commander asked. "I am called Nanashi," she answered, meaning no name. The commander accepted this. He had accepted brave men before, and as long as he was satisfied with what he saw, he questioned them no further. By the end of summer, Nanashi had earned the admiration of her fellow Bushi. She was first in the fight, always in the thick of it, but also never hesitated to risk her life to help them in difficulty or danger. Yet none could best her in a duel, not even the commander. When the year was out, the commander promoted her to lead her squad, which was welcomed by all of them. The next summer, the shogun was to have a great tournament at his court, the Castle of Loyalty. The commander declared that Nanashi was to be one of the Bushi that represented them. Many Bushi from all over the land gathered for the tournament, their superiors gathering in the stands by the shogun's side to watch them. One of these Nanashi noticed was her oldest brother, sitting by the shogun's right hand. Not wishing to be recognized, she kept her helmet on and her face hidden. The tournament began. Nanashi faced many Bushin duels and soon emerged as the firm favorite. She even dueled her second brother. He bowed at his defeat, but he did not recognize her. Finally, it came to the final round, and Nanashi faced her opponent, bowing to the shogun before beginning. The shogun sat in the stands beside the dueling ring. He had watched her closely throughout the tournament, wondering who this mysterious Bushi was that never showed her face. The shogun was a young man, new to his role after the death of his father. He was also unmarried, with his handsomeness and charm making him the target of many matchmakers, bringing young ladies before him. The shogun refused them all. Nanashi won the duel, making her bow to the shogun. "Your duel was well fought," said the shogun, acknowledging her bow. "But I have a request to make of you. Will you face me in a duel and test my blade against yours?" "It shall be as you wish, shogun," she said. They dueled round and round the ring. It became clear to all that Nanashi had met her match. Each attack she made was deflected by the shogun, each weakness or hesitation taken advantage of. After the longest time, the shogun prevailed, having Nanashi at his mercy. Nanashi conceded, bowing low. "You have won the day, shogun," she said. "I was never bested before until now." "Might I make another request of you?" said the shogun. "Remove your helmet, show me your face, and tell me your true name." Nanashi knew that she could not refuse. Removing her helmet and showing her face. In the stands, her oldest brother stood up and shouted, "That is my sister. She left my house as a nameless ronin when she refused my orders." The shogun turned to Nanashi. "Is this true?" "I am as he says," Nanashi answered. Disappointed, the shogun almost turned from her. Then he spoke again. "What did he order of you?" "He ordered me to give up my sword and the ways of war," Nanashi answered. The shogun laughed. What Bushi would fight for one who would squander their talents? He raised his voice for all to hear. "I declare this, from this day on you shall serve me directly, for I am not one to spurn a strong sword pledged in honor." Nanashi bowed low. "My sword is yours to command, shogun." There was a great celebration that night. Many Bushi sought to know Nanashi. Though they now knew her true name, they still called her Nanashi. She did not see her brother among the revelers. He had left shortly after the tournament. Nanashi served the shogun faithfully, putting her talents at his disposal, seeking not glory for herself, but only in his name. The shogun admired her. It gave him joy to see her return victorious at the head of his armies. And it was then he realized that he loved her, and he thought he could not leave his mind. Weeks passed. He was unable to speak to anyone of it and found it difficult to eat or sleep. Every day he woke, he promised it would say something of it to her, and the sun would set without him doing so. Nanashi showed no sign of any feelings towards him, kept doing her duty diligently from one day to the next. One morning, as the shogun and Nanashi practiced in the castle dojo, as they often did, a messenger arrived. "Shogun, the Lord of the Eastern Legions has struck his banners against you," said the messenger. "He marches this way with other lords in rebellion." "Is it my brother?" Nanashi asked. The messenger nodded. The shogun motioned for him to leave. Nanashi knelt before the shogun, bowing her head and placing a hand on her sword. "Send me," she pleaded. "Let me be your strong right arm. Let me be your sword to slay your enemies. Let me redeem the name of my father in the home that my brother has taken from me." The shogun's heart swelled with his love of her. He would send her, she would prevail, but he knew he must now speak of what was in his heart. "It shall be so," decreed the shogun. "You will lead my armies. Your sword will be my will. But first, there is something I must say to you." He motioned for her to rise and stand. "Shogun," Nanashi's voice was low and soft. "I must confess my true feelings for you," said the shogun. "I love you." and I wish for you to be my wife and lead my armies at my side. Nanashi looked at him for the longest moment. It took you this long to speak? The shogun gasped. You knew? Nanashi nodded. I have loved you ever since that first day I entered your service, when you bested me in the duel, she said. But I did not think it right to speak of it. I buried my feelings as best I could, but since you have spoken, I could not stay silent. The shogun took her in his arms and kissed her. My heart wants to sing with happiness, he said. Let us be married at once. Please, let it be on my return, said Nanashi. Let me claim the land of my father. Let this battle be my dowry. The shogun granted, for he could deny her nothing. Nanashi led the shogun's armies back to the land of her birth. She knew the land better than anyone, and this helped her to prevail against the other rebellious armies. Then she got to the castle itself where she had lived. She ordered her troops to accept the surrender of any bushi that gave it. These men fought for my father, she said. They are men of honor who are not to blame for my brother's treachery. Quite a few bushi surrendered to her, soon as she was in the great hall where she had last spoken to her brother on that fateful day she had left the castle. The banner of the shogun now flew free above the castle. Her brother was brought before her, two bushi holding him and throwing him on his knees to where she stood. Nanashi pointed her sword at her brother as he prostrated before her. Brother, I said once that we would be here, did I not? You did, said her brother, and by our father's name I beg you to show mercy to myself and my family. Nanashi looked down at her brother for a long time, then sheathed her sword. I will give you the same mercy that you gave me, she said. I grant you your life, but know that it is my gift. I grant your family their lives, but know their memory shall be of your disgrace. But you will go from this place without your name and shall not return. Now go. Her oldest brother left. She called her second brother forward. He pledged his sword and his life to her and to the shogun. She made him her hatamoto and steward of the castle until she should return. She then returned to Loyalty Castle with the shogun's armies, the shogun himself meeting her at the gates. The two were soon married, with much revelry and rejoicing by all who attended. They had many sons and daughters. All grew up to give honor and glory to the family name. And once again, that was written by Shinjo Takame, a friend from Lockett. So if you see her on Facebook, I guess, make sure to tell her that you enjoyed the story. Our next performer is Donald Bain of Black Marsh. Donald, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Thank you so much, Honor. I want to say thank you for letting me perform this. And as you said at the outset, we're talking about family in this year's, and I want to tell you a story about the Brady Bunch that you mentioned earlier. And actually, the Brady Bunch I refer to is my Ibaroni's first family, because Cadogan and Nadine actually met in our society and married, and bringing their two families together. I composed this song on the arrival of them to our baronial thrones. So this, my friends, is the rising of Cadogan and Nadine. Oh, it is the biggest rise up the gnome world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. Well, Cadogan's a warrior strong with wit that serves him well, and Feradine's a loving lass with name that's hard to spell. They met in our society and love was just a hunch, and so their families intertwined just like the Brady Bunch. Oh, it is the biggest rise up the gnome world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. His name is Cadogan Favor, good with press and awe and steel. His love for all and sundry is well known and oft revealed. He's a terror on the battlefield with both his blade and bow, but his favorite role is father, and he'll fight to tell you so. Oh, it is the biggest rise up the gnome world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. Nadine's a bright and cheery lass, accounting all her while. Oh, rapier prow and rapier wit will both produce a smile. But don't annoy this Baroness, 'twill be the death of you. She'll rain down arrows on you as she bellows out pew pew. Oh, it is the biggest rise up the known world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. Well, the Faber clans are wander young at heart and full of fire. They're grown up, how strong from tender age, a sure thing to inspire. Like Agnes to Evelina, all have served our cause barony well. When you crouch out on the Pensic field, they're sure to welcome hell. Though it is the biggest rise up the known world's ever seen. But gnashing in those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. Well, great John Knox and Caerdwyn have served this barony strong. The time has come for new nobles to lead us ever long. When word came out, the people cheered and glory was proclaimed. But the heralds started groaning as we had to spell their names. Oh, it is the biggest rise up the known world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. Alexander and Cretrana first were chose to take the fore. Then Einar and with Merlin our small voice became a roar. Both John and Caerdwyn led us well, their times were never lean. Now the hunter and the sable follows Cadogan and Nadine. Oh, it is the biggest rise up the known world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine. Yes, it is the biggest rise up the known world's ever seen. They're fashioning those coronets for Cadogan and Nadine.
Delightful. And finally, something happy. Well, I guess the story I told was happy, had a happy ending, but still. And now for something sad. Our next performer is Mistress Zoph. So you know how those Hungarians are. Zoph, if you would please take it away.
When we were told the theme of family, I do not have many tales of the Hungarians of family, but the society is more than just people together. In the society, we are a family. And so I realized I must tell to you a tale of a man who was family to me. He was like a father to me, and I mourn his loss every day, especially now with Pensic time. Is when it hurts the most, for that is when we would have 2 weeks together. He is no longer with us, but we should never forget him and the great things that he did. 9 years into the founding of our world, the kingdoms of the Middle and the East met upon the field of battle. After many days of fierce fighting, the Midrealm army retreated to the castle. Standing upon the parapet, the Midrealm's king, Berengar, looked upon the field and saw the devastation the East Kingdom had brought to the Midrealm. Weeping for those lost, King Berengar knew the price for retaining the castle would come with too great a cost. He commanded his army to withdraw and surrender to the foe. One man refused to let his brother's sacrifices be in vain. One man, our shining prince, Dagan, chose to defy the king and stayed to defend the keep. Standing in the gateway of the castle, Prince Dagan awaited the Eastern army. Black mace in hand, he held fast as the invaders drew near. Upon spying this one man defiantly barring his way, King Asbjorn of the Eastern realm halted his army. Does the Midrealm hold us in such small regard to send this one man to stand against my army? He called out. His son and heir, Prince Kryadak, spoke. This is no insult, my king. This is the crown prince of the Midrealm who holds the castle. Please allow me to fight him in single combat for control of the keep. King Asbjorn pondered his son's words carefully. As a good man and king, he recognized the spirit of Charlemagne and Gawain in the chivalrous acts of both princes. Without further hesitation, he granted Prince Karyadok's request. Sword gleaming, the east's air strode towards the Prince of the Midrealm. A hush filled the air, marked only by the rustling of armor and snapping of pennants in the breeze. With a yell, the princes charged one another. Mace met sword as the two skilled princes engaged. The hush held over the army of the east as each blow was evenly matched. Neither prince would yield to the other, and the earth shook with each strike. Watching the deadly dance, King Asbjorn told his aide, "Oh, what might these princes show! I would gladly empty my treasury to have two such knights beneath my banner." Fortune found Prince Karyadok that day, as with a mighty stroke his sword cleaved Prince Dagon's helm. The eastern army roared as Prince Dagon fell, but at a word, King Asbjorn commanded his army to stop rejoicing, for the world had lost a mighty warrior. He bade the piper play, and the haunting notes carried across the field, mourning the loss of a lion of a man. Today, he lives in our hearts. Duke Dagon, Dudaragon, Knight of the Midrealm.
That was lovely. Thank you for giving us that story. It's always important to remember the legends of the SCA, especially when they bring such joy to our lives. And I know we're all missing some people and missing Penzik as well. So thank you. Our next performer is on my other page here. Here we go. Liadun Leon. I think I pronounced that right.
You got it. Hardly anyone ever pronounces my name right.
Well, that's why I had you spell it out for me phonetically. So obviously you've unmuted yourself, so take it away, please.
So I'm coming before you as a representative of two baronies. One, my home barony of Sternfeld here in Indiana, and another of Carrickban. And so I have two very short pieces for you tonight. The first one is about what families and villages are required to do. It's called Fledgling. I took up my first bow when I was a child. The target stood 10 strides away. I learned how to stand and to draw an aim true in games father taught me to play. I practiced with diligence every free hour to shoot standing or riding astride. I learned to cast points and to fletch my own shafts, to fill my own quiver with pride. Because someday the king comes to call, and we are bound to answer. Someday we'll all march away in long lines behind a bold prancer. We shall go where he says and we'll do what we must, fulfilling our vow to the land and his trust. We of our village of very fine fellows, we with our bows and our arrows. I studied with diligence all through my youth, always shooting at targets and rings. Bales of straw stuffed and clothed like a man, feather-stuffed balls slung with slings. Then I took up my weapons and donned my green hood to stealthily stalk and be still. I hunted the fowl and the deer for our food, learning patience while learning to kill. Because someday the king comes to call, and we are bound to answer. Someday we'll all march away in long lines behind a bold prancer. We shall go where he says and we'll do what we must, fulfilling our vow to the land and his trust. We of our village of very fine fellows, we with our bows and our arrows. The sheriff has hammered a note on our tree. We are summoned to war by the crown. We march on the morrow, my comrades and me, to die or to gain our renown. I have shot men of straw, now I'll shoot men of flesh, but the straw never screamed when I hit. I'll stuff wax in my ears and I'll stifle my fears when the time comes to prove I am fit. Because on Sunday the king comes to call, and I am bound to answer. On Monday we all march away in a line behind a bold prancer. I shall go where he says and I'll do what I must, fulfilling my vow to the land and his trust. I with my village of very fine fellows, I with my bow and my arrows. Oops. Here. Thank you. And as my second piece for you, I, for the last 2 years, have been the Bard of Carrigbon. And it's been, oh goodness, have I lost it? Look under T for the Carrigbon. I received the position in a contest of wills, and by bribing the Baroness, which has now become an honored tradition in Carrigbon. I received the position the second year when my barons bribed me. And in September, I will turn over the bardship, hopefully to a Carrigboni, but you know you don't have to be from Carrigbon to be the Bard of Carrigbon. And as part of my tribute to them, every song I've written for 2 years belongs to them. The first song that I wrote for them was what it meant to be a Carrigbon person. This is a fight song for Carrigbon. In Carrigbon we'll meet you, in Carrigbon we'll greet you, but on the field defeat you if you're not from Carrigbon. In Carrigbon we'll wine you, in Carrigbon we'll dine you, but we will quite outshine you if you're not from Carrigbon. Carrigbon, tread on us, we'll hurt you. Carrigbon, doubt us and feel pain. Carrigbon, Midrealm seat of virtue, where modesty and noble honor reign. Yes, it does. In Carrigbon, our home on the plain. In Carrigbon, we'll face you. In Carrigbon, we'll race you, but quickly we'll outpace you if you're not from Carrigbon. In Carrigbon, we'll charm you. In Carrigbon, disarm you, but if we fight, we'll harm you if you're not from Carrigbon. Carrigbon, tread on us, we'll hurt you. Carrigbon, doubt us and feel pain. Carrigbon, Midrealm seat of virtue, where modesty and noble honor reigns. In Carrigbon, our home on the plains. In Carrigbon, we'll toast you. In Carrigbon, we'll boast you. Become our foe, we'll roast you if you're not from Carrigbon. In Carrigbon, we'll fight ya. In Carrigbon, we'll smite ya. Our mighty height will blight ya if you're not from Carrigbon. Carrigbon, tread on us, we'll hurt you. Carrigbon, doubt us and feel pain. Carrigbon, a Midrealm seat of virtue, where modesty and noble honor reign. Oh, Carrigbon, tread on us, we'll hurt ya. Carrigbon, doubt us and feel pain. Carrigbon, Midrealm seat of virtue, where modesty and noble honor reign. In Carrigbon, our home on the plain, where the deer and the populace reign, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the known world knows Carrigbon's fame.
Very clever. I love all the rhymes. Like we're all talking to each other like, ooh, that was a good one.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for participating. I really appreciate it. Our next performer is Tommaso. So if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
One year while crossing the Mediterranean, we picked up a cook in Constantinople who went by the name of Lifan. And Lifan came to us from the far-off kingdom of Cathay. How he wound up in Constantinople, we don't know. He didn't tell us. One of the things you do aboard ship is what, especially when the weather is bad, is you sit below decks and you tell each other stories from your homeland. This is one that Lifan told us. There was a farmer. He was a fairly prosperous farmer because he owned a horse and he had a good, strong son. But one day the farmer arose and he went out to the corral where the horse was kept, and the horse was gone and the gate was broken. And all of his neighbors came to him and said, "Oh, it's so unfortunate. You lost your horse. It's planting season. You'll have to do all this extra work by yourself. How will you keep up?" Terrible. And the farmer thought for a moment and said, "Well, Shuba, perhaps." Well, the farmer set about his work, and before the sun set that very day, he heard a clattering of hooves, and around down the path was his horse, leading a bachelor herd of 10 other stallions. Led them right into the corral. Well, the farmer quickly went, tied off the corral to make sure it was sound. And all the neighbors came to see what the fuss was. 10 stallions. No one in this village has ever had 10 stallions. You're the most fortunate of men. And the farmer thought for the moment and said, "Well, Shuba, perhaps." The next day, there was a clattering and beating of drums and sounding of trumpets and sounds of marching. It was the army coming to town. They were there recruiting. They said, "Every family in this village," and I skipped a whole verse, so this part makes no sense. So the next day, the son was training one of the new stallions, and he fell and broke his leg. And all the villagers said, "Oh, isn't this awful? Your son won't be able to help you. It's the planting season. He won't be healed until after the harvest. You've lost your son for an entire season." The farmer said, "Well, Shuba, perhaps." The next day, the army came into town with the marching and the drums and the trumpet. "Every family in this village must give us a son for the emperor's army, because we're going to go off and fight the Mongol horde." And all the neighbors came to the farmer and said, "You are the luckiest man in this village. Every one of us had to give up a son, but because your son had a broken leg, he stayed behind." And the farmer thought for a moment and said, "Well, Shuba, perhaps."
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. It wasn't working.
I don't usually forget the most important verse.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you participating. You've been a regular on these, and I always look forward to what you're going to contribute.
You're very kind.
Oh. Our next performer is Hilla Stormbringer. So Hilla, if you would please unmute yourself and take it away.
Alrighty. So when I heard this theme, I have been thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, and normally I can get a song out of, and I was struggling. And then I picked up a song actually that I had started writing 30 years ago. and have revised it several times. And so this is a rather broad sense of family. It's a family in that we're all interconnected. So we are one, we are brothers now. We are one, we are sisters now. Siblings all, we are all related. We are one, hear the earth as she cries to us in need. Stop the burning destruction, curb your greed. There is bounty enough for one and all. If we don't stand together, then we'll fall. We are one, we are brothers now. We are one, we are sisters now. Siblings all, we are all related. We are one with the birds, we are brothers now. With the beasts, we are sisters now. Spirits joined, we are all related. We are one, heed the earth as she calls for us to be. Join together in peace and harmony. Stop the wars, stop the hatred and the strife. There is value and beauty in each life. We are one, we are brothers now. We are one, we are sisters now. Siblings all, we are all related. We are one with the birds, we are brothers now. With the beasts, we are sisters now. Spirits joined, we are all related. We are one with the land, we are brothers now. With the sea, we are sisters now. Fates entwined, we are all related. We are one.
A beautiful message, and I'm glad that you were prompted to finish it. Sometimes these projects hang out until just the right time, don't they? Well, we only have 2 more performers. The next performer also had a bit of life happen unexpectedly. So they sent me a recording 10 minutes ago. And I'm going to play that now for you guys. So bear with me as I share my screen. And our next performer is Dulon Mcmark of Ring Tribe. So I'm sure this will be enjoyable.
My two are my friends, my love hath no end for you. I would do anything that I could do. My two are my friends, my love do I send. Raise my cup full of mead unto you. Be ye of good cheer, and in our hearts always be near. Our kinship bonds are so dear, neither time nor distance remove. We shall relight the fire, I'll pipe for you, play on the lyre. The flames will reach ever higher, as the love in my heart for you. My two are my friends, good health do I send. May the gods bless and keep you in safety and youth. My two are my friends, good spirits I send. May the fates keep a watch over you. 9 wisdoms our guide, standing each side by side. Remember the ways of our tribe, till the hurly be past again. A high feast shall be set, adventures awaiting us yet. Take heed and never forget, I'm your sister and I am your friend. To all my friends, our tale has not ended. Keep faith, we shall meet once again at our fire. To all my friends, our tribe will ascend. May your heart remain full with desire. One day we shall return, and for that day greatly I yearn. The fire so brightly shall burn, and our circle unbroken shall be. There in the high dell, our tribe casts its magical spell. We'll raise our voices to yell. We are ancient and fierce and free. To all my friends, my love has no end. For you I would do anything that I could do. To all my friends, my love do I send, till I join once again there with you. To all my
Sorry, it automatically started playing again. So that was Dulon, the Honorable Lady Dulon. And that was the song she wrote specifically about her household in the SCA, the Ring tribe. And Tuath is pronounced Tua, and it means tribe or family, which she wanted me to pass on as well. So she wrote that specifically because she's missing Penzik, and obviously a lot of us feel very close to our SCA family. I mean, it's like a second family. So obviously it fits the theme. So our very last performer is Count Nikolai, who is going to give us a, I'm sure, delightful story from the Russian side of things. Count Nikolai, if you would please take it away.
Thank you, Honor. So when Honor asked me to share a Russian fairy tale, I said I'd be happy to, because Russian fairy tales are very close to my heart. And they're feel-good stories, not in that they're happy stories. No, they're all filled with violence and misery, but they might make us feel better because our lives aren't as miserable. And when she asked if I had a story that would fit the theme of family, I said certainly, because the source of that misery often in Russian fairy tales is family. So tonight I'm going to share a Russian fairy tale titled The Three Kingdoms. Once upon a time, there lived an old man with his old wife. They had three sons, Igorsky the Nimble, Mishka the Bandy-Legged, and Ivashko Lie on the Stove. Their father and mother wanted to marry them off. They set their eldest son to find a bride for himself. He walked and walked for a long time. Whether he looked at the girls, he could not choose a bride for himself because none was to his liking. Then he met a three-headed dragon on the road and was frightened. The dragon said to him, "Where are you going, my good fellow?" Igorsky answered, "I have set out to get married, but I cannot find a bride." The dragon said, "Come with me, I will lead you. We shall see whether you can get a bride." They walked and walked until they came to a big stone. The dragon said, "Turn up the stone. There you will get what you wish." Igorsky tried to turn it up, but could not move it. The dragon said to him, "There is no bride for you." Igorsky returned home and told his father and mother what had happened. After the father and mother pondered over what they should do, they then set their middle son, Mishka the Bandy-Legged, to find a bride. The same thing happened to him. The old man and his old wife thought and wondered what to do, for if they sent Ivashko Lie on the Stove, he surely would not accomplish anything. However, Ivashko Lie on the Stove began to beg for a chance to have a look at the dragon. His father and mother at first would not let him go, but later they consented. Ivashko too walked and walked and met the three-headed dragon. The dragon asked him, "Whither are you going, my good fellow?" Ivashko answered, "My brothers wanted to get married, but could not find a bride. Now it is my turn. Come with me then, I will show you whether you can get a bride." And so the dragon went along with Ivashko, and they came to the same stone. And the dragon told him to turn up the stone from its place. Ivashko took hold of it, and the stone rolled off. There was a hole in the ground, and near it some thongs were fixed. The dragon said, "Ivashko, sit on the thongs. I will lower you, and you will come to three kingdoms, and each of them you will see a maiden." Ivashko was lowered and started on his way. He walked and walked until he came to the Copper Kingdom. He entered it and saw a beautiful maiden. She said, "Welcome, rare guest. Come in and sit down where you see a smooth place, and tell me whence you come and whither you are going." "Ah, fair maiden," said Ivashko, "you have not given me food nor drink, yet you ask me questions." The maiden placed all sorts of food and drink on the table. Ivashko ate and drank and told her that he was seeking a bride for himself. "And if you find favor with you," he said, "please be my wife." "No, my good man," said the maiden, "travel on still farther. Then you will come to the Silver Kingdom. There lives a maiden even more beautiful than I." And she gave him a silver ring. The gallant youth thanked the maiden for her hospitality, said farewell to her, and went on. He walked and came to the Silver Kingdom. He entered it and saw a maiden even more beautiful than the first. He asked a blessing and made homage and said, "I salute you, fair maiden." She answered, "Welcome, strange youth. Sit down and boast about who you are and whence and for what business you have come here." "Ah, fair maiden," said Ivashko, "you have not given me food nor drink, yet you are asking me questions." The maiden set the table and bought all kinds of food and drink. Ivashko ate and drank as much as he wanted, then told her that he had set out to find a bride and asked her to be his wife. She said to him, "Go on still farther. Beyond there is a golden kingdom, and in it lives a maiden even more beautiful than I." And she gave him a golden ring. Ivashko said farewell to her and went on. He walked and came to the golden kingdom. He entered it and saw a maiden more beautiful than the others. So he asked a blessing and saluted the maiden, as is becoming. The maiden began to ask him whence he came and whither he was going. "Ah, fair maiden," said he, "you have not given me food nor drink, yet you ask me questions." So she put all kinds of food and drink on the table, the best imaginable. Ivashko lay on the stove, treated himself amply to everything, and began to tell his story. "I am on my way to find a bride. If you wish to be my wife, come with me." The maiden consented and gave him a golden ball. They set out together. They walked and came to the Silver Kingdom. There they took the maiden with them. And again, they walked and came to the Copper Kingdom. There too, they took the maiden. Then all of them went to the hole from whence they had to climb out, and they found the thongs hanging there. And the elder brothers were already standing by the hole, about to climb in it to find Ivashko. Now Ivashko seated the maiden from the Copper Kingdom on the thongs and shook them. The brothers pulled and lifted out the maiden, lowered the thongs again. Then Ivashko seated the maiden from the Silver Kingdom, and the brothers pulled her out and set down the thongs. Finally, he seated the maiden from the Golden Kingdom, and the brothers pulled her out too, and dropped back the thongs. Ivashko now seated himself on them. His brothers pulled him too, pulled and pulled, but when they saw that it was Ivashko, they thought, "If we pull him out, he might refuse to give us a maiden." And they cut the thongs, and Ivashko fell down. Well, there was nothing he could do. He wept, and then went on. He walked, and this is what he saw. On a tree trunk sat an old man as big as an inch, with a beard a cubit long. Ivashko told him everything that had happened to him and how. The old man instructed him to go farther. "You will come to a little house," he said, "and in that house lies a man so tall that he stretches from corner to corner. You must ask him how to get to Russia." So Ivashko walked and came to the little house. He entered it and said, "Mighty giant, do not kill me. Tell me how to get to Russia." "Fie, fie," said the giant. "No one asks these Russian bones to come here. They have come from by themselves. Well, go beyond 30 lakes. There is a little house that stands on chicken legs, and in that house lives Baba Yaga. She has an eagle, and he will take you out." The good youth walked and came to the little house. He entered it, and Baba Yaga cried, "Fie, fie, fie, Russian bones, why have you come here?" Then Ivashko said, "Little grandmother, I came by order of the mighty giant to ask for your powerful eagle, that he may take me up to Russia." "Go to the garden," said Baba Yaga. "At the gate there stands a sentry. Take the keys from him and go beyond 7 doors. As you open the last door, the eagle will flutter his wings, and if you are not frightened by him, sit on him and fly. Only take some meat with you, and each time he looks back, give him a piece." Ivashko did as Baba Yaga told him. He sat on the eagle and off they flew. They flew and flew. The eagle looked back and Ivashko gave him a piece of meat. They flew and flew and he gave meat to the eagle often. And now he had given the eagle all the meat he had, and there was still a long distance to fly. The eagle looked back and there was no meat. So the eagle plucked a piece of flesh from Ivashko's shoulder, ate it, and dragged him out through the same hole to Russia. When Ivashko got down off the eagle spat out the piece of flesh and told him to put it back into his shoulder. Ivashko did so, and his shoulder was healed. He came home, took the maiden of the Golden Kingdom from his brothers, and they began to live happily together and are still living together today. And that is a tale for you and a crock of butter for me.
I mean, you can't make, well, I mean, you can make it up because that's a story, so it was made up. But I mean, you can't make these stories up. This is crazy. I love Russian stories. That is the end of our showcase for this month. One thing I wanted to ask of the performers who are still all on, do you mind if I take a picture of this real quick so I can commemorate, like, of all your faces? Is that okay? Yay? All right, cool. Let me do this real quick. All right, perfect. Thank you. Beautiful, gorgeous. I want to thank all of our performers again. Thank you to everyone who followed along at home. As always, this is recorded. We're still working on getting the website set up so that we can post these recordings. But if you're interested, next month's theme, I've already decided what it is because it's going to be in August, is war. So give me your battle songs. Give me your stories about fighting and war. And that's it. That's all I got. You all have a great rest of your evening. And as always, thank you to our wonderful, beautiful Kingdom Minister of Arts and Science for hosting this Zoom meeting. And good night.
Thank you, everybody. It was really, really awesome. And our live stream has now been finished. And we are, yes.